In early 2020, Airbnb looked like a company heading toward disaster. For years, the platform had been one of Silicon Valley's biggest success stories. It transformed how people travel by allowing homeowners to rent out spare rooms, apartments, and houses to travelers around the world. Millions of hosts joined the platform, and millions of guests booked stays in cities across nearly every country. By 2019, Airbnb was preparing for one of the most anticipated tech IPOs in years. Then the global travel industry suddenly stopped. When the pandemic hit, borders closed, flights were canceled, and tourism collapsed almost overnight. For a company built entirely around travel, the impact was immediate and brutal. Within weeks, Airbnb's bookings dropped dramatically. Revenue fell sharply, and the company was suddenly facing an existential crisis. At one point, Airbnb's business fell by around 80%. The company that had once been preparing to go public was now fighting for survival. But what happened next became one of the most remarkable corporate turnarounds in modern tech. Airbnb didn't just survive the crisis, it rebuilt its empire. To understand how Airbnb recovered from the verge of collapse, you have to start with the company's immediate response. When the travel shutdown began, Airbnb faced a difficult choice. Millions of travelers had already booked stays for upcoming trips that were suddenly impossible. At the same time, millions of hosts depended on the platform for income. Airbnb made a controversial but decisive move. The company issued widespread refunds to guests whose trips were canceled due to travel restrictions. While this protected customer trust, it created enormous financial strain and angered many hosts who lost expected income. But Airbnb knew something critical. Long-term trust in the platform was more valuable than short-term revenue. Maintaining that trust would be essential for rebuilding the business once travel eventually returned. At the same time, Airbnb had to rapidly restructure the company itself. The crisis forced leadership to rethink nearly every part of the business. In May 2020, Airbnb made one of the most painful decisions in its history. The company laid off about 25% of its workforce. Entire experimental divisions were shut down. Projects that were not directly related to the core home-sharing platform were eliminated. Instead of trying to operate as a broad travel company, Airbnb refocused entirely on its original mission, connecting hosts and guests. This reset turned out to be one of the most important strategic decisions the company made. Before the crisis, Airbnb had been experimenting with many different expansions. It explored transportation services, media projects, luxury travel services, and other initiatives designed to grow the platform into a full travel ecosystem. But when survival became the priority, the company simplified. It focused on the one thing it did best. And interestingly, while global travel collapsed, a new type of travel behavior began to emerge. People were no longer taking international vacations or visiting crowded tourist cities, but they still wanted to leave their homes. Instead of flying across continents, travelers started booking longer stays closer to where they lived. Remote work made this possible. As millions of people began working from home, the idea of travel started to change. People could now spend weeks or even months in different locations without needing to return to a traditional office. Airbnb happened to be perfectly positioned for this shift. Unlike hotels, which are designed for short stays, Airbnb listings often include full homes, kitchens, and living spaces that are ideal for longer visits. During the pandemic, demand for rural homes, cabins, and smaller destinations surged. People wanted quiet places away from crowded cities. Airbnb quickly recognized this trend and adapted the platform to support it. The company introduced new search features that made it easier for travelers to find unique destinations, remote locations, and longer-term stays. Categories like cabins, farms, and countryside homes became more prominent in the search experience. This helped Airbnb capture a new type of traveler. Instead of traditional vacationers visiting major cities, the platform attracted remote workers, families relocating temporarily, and people seeking slower, longer trips. Another key part of Airbnb's recovery was its focus on hosts. The platform's entire business depends on homeowners willing to list their properties. During the crisis, many hosts had lost income and confidence. Airbnb responded by creating new tools and incentives to bring hosts back. The company simplified the listing process, improved pricing recommendations, and introduced stronger support systems for property owners. These efforts encouraged more people to join the platform. In fact, as housing markets and economic conditions shifted, some homeowners began using Airbnb as a flexible income source. This expanded the supply of available listings just as travel demand began recovering. By the time global travel slowly started returning, Airbnb had already rebuilt its marketplace, with a stronger focus on unique stays and longer visits. Then came another major milestone. In December 2020, Airbnb went public. Despite the massive disruption earlier that year, the company's IPO became one of the most successful technology listings in recent history. Investors were betting not just on Airbnb's recovery, but on the long-term transformation of travel. And that transformation continues today. Travel behavior has permanently changed in several ways. Remote work remains more common than before. Many people now take longer trips while working remotely. Flexible living arrangements have become more normalized. Airbnb has positioned itself directly at the center of these trends. The platform is no longer just about weekend getaways or vacation rentals. It has become part of a broader lifestyle shift where people move between cities, spend extended time in different locations, and blend travel with everyday life. Airbnb's leadership now often describes the platform as supporting living anywhere. Instead of short vacations once or twice a year, travel is becoming more integrated into how people live and work. That idea has dramatically expanded Airbnb's potential market. The company is also investing in new features that improve the overall experience for both guests and hosts. Identity verification, improved customer support, and better safety tools are helping build confidence in the platform. Airbnb is also redesigning its app and search experience regularly to highlight unique homes, experiences, and travel possibilities. What makes this story remarkable is how close the company once came to collapse. In early 2020, many believed Airbnb might not survive the global shutdown of travel. But by simplifying its strategy, focusing on its core product, and adapting to new travel behaviors, the company not only survived, it emerged stronger. The crisis forced Airbnb to rediscover the fundamental idea that made it successful in the first place: connecting people with unique places to stay. And in a world where travel, work, and living arrangements are becoming more flexible, that idea may be more powerful than ever. Airbnb rebuilt its empire not by completely reinventing itself, but by returning to its core strengths and aligning with how the world had changed. Sometimes the path forward isn't about becoming something new, it's about remembering what made you successful in the first place, and building from there. In early 2020, Airbnb looked like a company heading toward disaster.